What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Comically Boston. Today we are doing an episode breakdown for episode 3 of the Acolyte, titled Destiny. And this episode looks like it's going to be more of a flashback episode, and we're going to be discovering where these twins came from and how they got separated, right, that we learned in the first 2 episodes. Osha is one of the sisters, May is the other sister. One seems to be a light side, one seems to be a dark side. And we kind of figure out who their mother is, where they come from, and that whole type of thing this episode. So, unfortunately, because it's a flashback episode, I believe we're going to catch up with May and the, Amanda Stenberg and the hooded, masked Sith in the next episode, and also, what happened to Kelnaka, right? So we're flashing back to see, why these Jedi are on May's hit list type of thing. But we do get to see Kelnaka, not in the same location as that last episode, but it's really cool to see a Wookiee Jedi. I want to see more of him, and I want to see more of that Sith with the crazy helmet mask with the smile and the, it looks cool. But we do get to finally see Mother Anastasia, their mother, and we'll learn more about that in a second. But it starts out 17 years earlier on Brendok with Osha and May as children. Night Sister Mother Coral finds them in the woods. They're like not supposed to be out, and they are. And Soul is right behind them watching, like seeing that this coven of witches has children, and they're not supposed to be training children under the Republic rules or whatever, but it's okay for the Jedi to do it. I don't know, that seems a little sus, if you ask me. This wasn't my favorite episode of The Acolyte, I think mostly because the child actresses, they did an okay job, but Amanda Stenberg and the rest of the adult cast has been really, really killing it. So to see these 2 twins as younger children and then throw that into a whole episode where we're following these children, like, and they're arguing, they're bickering back and forth. The whole time I was just like, these 2 young girls, shut the fuck up. I was like, we don't need you bickering in the background every fucking shot, even though that was like the point or whatever, to show how they're button heads and they're not the same, and Osha wants to be different than May, and May wants Osha to be like her. Let her be herself, let the twin be her own twin, But we get to see the girl's mother, and like, she's also a Night Sister, but she's also the mother to her coven, kind of like the Night Sister Mother Talzin from Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff like that, and also from Ahsoka, those Night Sister mothers that we've seen. So this is like their own coven. Now, granted, we haven't seen this type of coven because they're kind of wielding the Force, but they don't call it the Force, they call it a thread, and you kind of see it. It's like she goes like this, and it's kind of like an invisible thread, and she's like, as soon as you pull a thread, that's what happens, or something, like the I don't know, I don't necessarily like it as much. I don't know, I had a hard time this whole episode being like, do I like this or do I not? I really don't, I'm not quite sure. But we do get to see this ceremony, right, because Mother Anastasia demonstrates self-defense with the thread to the 2 girls, and they're not listening, they're bickering like I was saying. And then explains what the Ascension ceremony is, and where it's where they become witches and they get, inducted to the coven, and they get their cool little face tattoos, or whatever. Like, you can see the mother here is clearly a symbol for this coven, because the rest of the coven looks at her like she's all powerful and wise, and she's got that crazy forehead tattoo that runs down the nose, which I kind of dig, I kind of liked, and I've seen some people on Twitter and shit giving the coven a hard time, like their outfits were shit. I don't know, I think they look pretty good. Although, would I want to join the coven? Probably not. I'd probably want to be a Jedi too, and I'm right there with you, Osha. But we do get to see the Ascension ceremony, and we also get to find out their real names, but I have a quick clip here of what the Night Sisters in this coven are chanting during the Ascension ceremony, and we see the moon, which kind of looks like the Acolyte symbol, but let me play this clip real quick.
Power 1, the power of 2, the power of many. The power of 1, the power of 2, the power of many.
Yeah, so I'm not really quite sure what that chant means. And they look up in the sky, and that O from the Acolyte intro scene looks exactly like the moon does in that little sequence, or on Brendok, or whatever planet they're on. I believe Brendok. But the chant kind of cracked me up when I was watching it, and then watching it back made me laugh even harder. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. Like, what the fuck is that, bitch? Like, shit, are you kidding me? The power of many. Like, it's goofy, and I think they won me over. I think I like it now. Or I hate it. I really can't tell. My gut is telling me, go both ways on this one. But we hear the girls' real names, which I thought was, kind of, a little detail, and I jotted it down. So May's real name is Mayho, May-Ho Anastasia, and Varosha Anastasia. So May dropped the ho, and Varosha dropped the ver. And so she kept the second half of her name, the other one kept the first half of her name. Interesting little parallels again, because of course they're different again. They gotta be their own people, and they gotta be one's. I think they're really trying to create the parallels of the Force and shit, where one's the light side of the Force, one's the dark side, and they're gonna meet in the middle, and something's gonna happen. But in the middle of the ceremony, right? So Mayho immediately goes, I want to become a witch, and she gets a little, and then like the power of one, power of two, power of many into the girl, and she has now a little face tattoo. And as Osha is about to say she will, the Jedi interrupt the ceremony, and you're like, ooh, okay, I see you. And Mother Anastasia was pissed. That's Mother Coral over there, over her left shoulder, our right. She kind of looks like a Dathomirian, kind of like Darth Maul with the horns. But the Jedi interrupt, so we see younger versions of two of the people that May has already killed in the first two episodes. So you get to see Carrie-Anne Moss, Sol, Torben, which is Tommen Baratheon from Game of Thrones, and then Kelnaka, right? So the 4 Jedi that she's supposed to kill. So I'm wondering if that masked Sith is actually someone that also has a vendetta. So maybe someone from this coven, maybe a Mother Corrin. Now that would be very anticlimactic of a reveal, because it's somebody that we've met in the show, and everyone is assuming that that's somebody that we know already, like a Palpatine, or a Maul or something like that. Somebody's expecting, we're expecting somebody we will know from comics or something outside of the people we've introduced from the show. So I really don't know who the masked person is, but that's really why I'm liking this show so far, is I'm dying to know who's under that mask and why she's supposed to kill people with no weapon. Makes no sense. But we get to see the younger version of Sol, right? So the Sol that we know has long hair. This version has short hair. The Torben that we met had, kind of balding, scar down his face. He was meditating. This one's nice and young. Looks a lot more like Tommen Baratheon from Game of Thrones. And then Kelnaka looks the same. But I love Kelnaka this episode, just randomly working on stuff, just minding his own business, and then all of a sudden the girl walks and is looking around, and all of a sudden you hear I fucking love some Wookiee shit, man. I really do. So Kelnaka better fucking lightsaber some shit out of some people next episode, is all I'm saying. But the Jedi question Mother Anastasia, and are asking, who are their father? And she goes, they have no father. And I was like, what the fuck? What is with the Anakin parallels? They have no father? What does that mean? They're twins. They have no father? Okay. We find out a little bit more about this conception later in the episode, but, is it kind of like Anakin, has no father? Who was his father? The Force was his father? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more, definitively what happens, but also I don't think we will. We see Mother Anastasia take over Torben's mind, and she kind of doesn't have to do any forcing, force choke, nothing like that. She's kind of just standing there and takes over his mind, and he starts seeing some dark shit, and he's on the ground suffering, and she goes, I suggest you guys leave immediately. And they're like, you cannot train children, we must train them. And so Osha's like, I want to be a Jedi. I would love to be a Jedi. She walks up, and Soul hands her a lightsaber, like, this is the on button. Like, that's like handing a child a gun and being like, here's the trigger. Like, what? Don't hand her that. But, he says, if you wish to be my Padawan, you will get trained as one. So Osha's like dying to be a Jedi. And they say that they must be tested. And Osha is the one that wants to be tested. And they go, both girls. And so the mother says, okay, girls, during the test, lie, so that if you pass, you have to leave us. But if you purposely fail the test, you get to stay with your family. And May's all about it, and Osha's like, I want to tell the truth. I don't want to lie. Why would I lie? I'm a good person. And then we hear a conversation over with Mother Anasaya and Mother Coral, and she goes, I carried them. So Mother Coral physically carried the twins, and then Mother Anasaya says, I created them. So what kind of dark magic did Mother Anasaya do to put these babies into Mother Coral? What? And then there's no father? Like, okay. And then we get, like, parallels where Osha's talking to the mother, and, like, kind of like Anakin's talking to his mother, and goes, will I ever see you again? And from this moment, I was like, oh, yo, that mother's totally dead. Like, we're never going to see her again. But then May takes the test first, comes out all happy. He's kind of like, yeah, I failed that bitch. And then we don't really get to see what test May goes through. We just know that she's going to fail this bitch on purpose because she wants to stay with the witches. Osha walks in and kind of like is feeling the thing, and the guy sews the thing, and one pops up, and she goes, it's a thing. And the thing that pops up was a loath cat. And as soon as this image popped up, I went, oh, like kind of like the Leo meme pointing. And I was like, I know what that is. I've watched Rebels. I've watched Ahsoka. That's a fucking loath cat. And she says it's a spaceship. And Soul like kind of goes, correct. Shows her another thing. She goes, that's a mountain. And he goes, correct. And she goes, that was, and kind of like, is like, why are you telling me I'm correct when we both know that was not a mountain? And she's like, did someone tell you, right? So they sniff out that someone told her to fail, and then she actually takes the test and does pass, clearly, because she's a gangsta. And so she's gonna have to leave, and she chooses Jedi, right? Like, and May was pissed, so May's like, you know what? I'll just kill you. Lights this thing on fire. And apparently, because she burned down the door to Osha's place, burns down the entire facility, and the entire thing gets blown up and whatever. And then as they're like, Osha meets up with Soul, and then they're running through, and they're trying to escape now this collapsing, burning fortress wherever they were, and they run by, or May, right? They get this great parallel shot of a broken bridge, and Osha's on one side, May's on the other side, and I was like, wow, if this was ever like a parallel that's so, like, she's like telling her to jump across, and it's like, I was expecting her to fall to her death, and I think May falls to her death, even though we know May lives, but this is how Osha thought that they were dead, and the other one thought that they were dead. But we find out that it's pretty much May's fault that, like, the whole place burned down and killed everyone, but we see the whole coven kind of wiped out, and you don't necessarily see any lightsaber strikes or slashes or anything like that, or dismembered limbs from lightsabers, but you also don't see them crushed by anything or burned alive or anything like that. You just see them all laid out as they're running by, and they can't save them. So something or someone wiped out that coven, and I wonder if it's maybe that Sith guy, and the Sith guy finds May down there falling from that wherever she fell. But we end the episode with Osha getting a hug from Soul. And he's like, you're gonna be okay, Osha. I promise you'll never feel like this again. And she gets a hug, and she kind of finds a father type figure in Soul here. But then the actual episode ends with a cut to May looking at a yellow tree, and I'm not sure if this tree has any symbolism. Maybe it's in the comics, but as far as the other live action Star Wars stuff, I don't know what this is. So to start the next episode, we have a child May looking at this yellow tree, and then from the last episode we also have May hunting down Kelnaka. So in this next episode, hopefully we cut back to the adults and we get more into the adult action. Hopefully this was the only episode of kid stuff. But next week will be the halfway point. 4 out of 8 episodes. It's not going to be 6. So, you know, I'm excited to get an 8-episode season. That's going to be cool. So stay tuned till next week. We'll watch the 4th episode and break it down here on the channel and the rest of the series. But I'm liking the show. I liked the first 2 episodes a lot. This episode I didn't really love, but mostly because of the children actresses. You know, no real fault on them. You know, they are young children. I don't know, maybe they could have, I don't know. They had to give us the origin story, I guess, but I don't know if they had to focus so heavily on the children and, like, just give us no Amanda Lestenberg, no flashbacks to, like, the present day, just fully set us in the past this whole episode. I don't know. I don't know. So we got next week. We got 5 more episodes, whatever it is, to figure out what happens with these characters and how many more of these Jedi is May gonna kill or not. You know, is she gonna end up killing one of them without a lightsaber? Who knows? Without a weapon. But stay tuned. My name is Big Cam. If you want to follow me on other social medias, my link's down in the description below. Comment below. How do you feel about the Acolyte so far? Did you feel the same about this episode, but you really liked the first 2? So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below. Message me on my other social medias. If you want to talk more Star Wars, you can email me, comicallyboston@gmail.com. And I would love to talk more with you guys. But I will see you beautiful people in the next episode. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss that episode.